Hey YouTubers, thanks for joining me again. There's a little bit of an update on the butt plate for that Car 88. I did a little more research and actually found that they were polished. So, where's my butt plate at? There it is. So I'm actually going to be polishing this rather than bluing it, as I originally stated. Let's zoom out. Using two different types of polishing rouge. There's gray, blue, I think there's red and whatnot. This basically, they basically have different kind of, I guess, grits. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to load up your polishing wheel with the grit of choice and then just start polishing. I would wear safety glasses. I like these bright yellow ones just because they tend to brighten things up a little bit, especially the older you get, the harder it is to see things. I'm a living testament to that. So what we're going to do is just going to polish this up a bit, and we're going to make it match the actual rest of the gun. As a side note, here is the gun itself that we're going to be working on. This has already been polished, and this is pretty much ready to go. This was in pretty poor shape when I got it. There was quite a bit of rust pitting in this area. You can probably see it right about there. And so this was actually polished up with a belt sander very lightly, and then with the exact same rouge that we used on the buffing wheel over there. So what I'm actually going to do is make this finish match the butt plate, or make the butt plate match this finish, and go from there. Like I said, I wanted to keep this as original as possible. I had this thing bead blasted first, which took out all of the surface imperfections and whatnot. Could actually use a little more polish on there, but overall I'm actually pretty happy with the finish itself. You can kind of see and whatnot. There's all the markings are intact. Arsenal stamping, this is just some old pitting which is going to be hidden by the wood line, so I'm not going to really deal with that because I don't want to damage this marking here. All these original markings are intact. This I might just grease really well. This is just bare steel. This will be covered by the barrel band, or sorry, the barrel shroud. But you can see that this one says basically new material, which is these are the upgraded barrels, upgraded steel that they put in the barrels because these things were blowing up on them when they first started making them. So they went through quite a few trial and errors on these before they figured out a formula. The other thing is I'm going to probably torch blue this part right here. These triggers were actually blued. You can either torch blue it or you can niter blue it and whatnot. It's probably easier to torch it because it'll actually just heat this one little section. And then they also call it oil bluing. So I'm going to heat this with a torch till it changes the color till I want, and then I'll just dip it in some oil to cool it down. Everything else has been polished though and ready to go. I'm having a really hard time getting this thing on camera. I gotta pay more attention. Alright, so here we go. You just want to load up your thing here and just start polishing. One thing to also be aware of, these things do generate some static electricity. I will go barefoot, so I kind of ground myself. Sometimes I'll periodically touch it against the unit itself, just because you can actually get a pretty nasty shock with these things. It's not enough to kill you, but enough to kind of annoy you. So you just kind of want to polish. You don't have to kill it. Ideally, again, you're going to want to go with the grain of the metal that you put into it. So if you sand it from left to right, then you'll want to polish from left to right. And you want to pay attention so your part doesn't get caught and thrown across the room. So there you can see kind of with, where are we at? The light polish, you can kind of see the main difference. Again, you can polish just to mirror right if you want. Being that this is a butt plate, it's going to show quite a bit of wear. And there's still some pitting that I didn't remove just because of the fact that I didn't want to make this thing like paper thin. It's up to you to decide when to stop. I'm kind of pretty happy with this. I'll probably polish out the bottom a little bit, clean up the edges. The screws on these were blued, so once I attach it, once I fill the hole in the stock and then re-drill the hole for this, because this is all kind of offline, or misaligned, sorry, it'll actually have a nice clean flush installation. It'll look absolutely perfect when I'm done. Okay, so that looks actually a lot better than when we started. I can probably hit it a little bit more. If you have some areas here that are a little bit more scratch, you can use a heavier grit rouge, something that cuts a little bit faster. You don't want to go too heavy because obviously you're going to start making more lines than is necessary. I do wear gloves because these things get hot really, really fast. And another thing also be aware of, especially wear your goggles, because I've many times, and you'll do this, the part, sometimes if you're not paying attention, you look away for just a second, it'll just slightly catch, especially like if something's on the wire wheel, and the thing will go flying. At best, it'll go flying across the room, and hopefully you can find it. At worst, it'll go flying right into your face, and then you have a whole other issue. So be very, very careful with this stuff. Okay, and there it is. Still see some of a little bit of the, you can see, guess some of the graining in the metal. That was mainly from my my restoration techniques of polishing it with a belt sander and then hitting it with the sandpaper. But I try to keep them as even as possible. I use the green for a good kind of basic cut, and then a gray for like another polish. You can see that the markings are still intact. Again, your level of your results may vary, but you're looking for just to kind of get an overall nice, attractive original finish on this. You see the flat marks from earlier are pretty much gone. They've all been polished out, and that sanding block does a lot. The two or three grades of sanding blocks from a fine, or like from fine to a medium. I wouldn't even bother with coarse, because the problem is you're actually going to be cutting too much material, and you're going to actually have more work for yourself polishing this out. So I think we're done on this one. Maybe you might hit it up a little bit more, maybe put a wax on it to protect it a little bit more, and then you're pretty much good to go. At this point now, it's a matter of getting the screws blued. Bluing. Next video, I'm gonna actually show the rust blue process with the parts that are already prepared, and then we'll put this whole thing back together and take it out for a shoot. So I'm excited. Hopefully you are too.